2022-23 Boston Bruins have set a franchise record for wins and have also clinched the President's Trophy. What does it mean? Are they destined for greatness to lift the Stanley Cup? Are they cursed? Let's talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things about your first place Spoked Bee. Today is Friday, March 31st. I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day, every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and I believe we are on track for the best month in the history of the podcast. So thank you so much for the ongoing support. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about last night's win over the Columbus Blue Jackets, the resulting President's Trophy clinch, and the new benchmark for wins in a single season for the Boston Bruins. Take a quick look at the weekend ahead as well. I want to remind you that you can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Now, with a 2-1 overtime win over the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, we'll talk about the result later on in the program. But big picture, the Bruins in their 99th season have set a new franchise standard for single season excellence. It was Boston's 58th win of the season, which is a new club record, besting the 70-71 club that featured some legends like Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Johnny Busick. They also clinched the team's fourth President's Trophy, securing top seed in the playoffs, home ice advantage in every round. They also tied the club mark for points in a single season with 121, something they will certainly exceed. The all-time wins record still within reach. That was set at 62 by the 95-96 Red Wings and the 2018-19 Tampa Bay Lightning. The Bruins need 5 wins over their remaining 7 games, I believe, in order to hit that mark, although we probably will see some load management, some premier players taking some seats, and some AHL guys, reserves, getting some action. So what does this all mean? Let's just get the big thing out of the way, address the elephant in the room. It's rare that President's Trophy winners win the Stanley Cup. In fact, it hasn't happened in a decade when the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks beat our Boston Bruins in the final. Prior to that, the 2007-2008 Red Wings won the President's Trophy, won the Stanley Cup. It happened a bit more frequently prior to the salary cap era. The 99 Stars, the 2001 Avalanche, the 2002 Red Wings all won the President's Trophy and went on to win the Stanley Cup. That's like 3 times in the span of 4 years. More recently, last year's Florida Panthers only won a round. The Colorado Avalanche in 2021 lost in the second round. Our Boston Bruins won the President's Trophy in the COVID-shortened season and lost in the second round to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And of course, the glaring big miss were those 2019 Lightning who set a regular season record for wins and then lost in the first round to the Columbus Blue Jackets. The reality is playoff hockey is just so much different from the regular season. One big example that I can think of is how many times during the regular season do you hear about last change, getting those matchups at home versus on the road? You hear that all the time in the playoffs, how important it is to have the last change, to get those preferred defensive matchups. Nick Foligno talked about it last night on the broadcast with Jack and Brick, just how everything in the playoffs is magnified. Every shift, every face-off, every power play, every penalty kill. It's so much different, and there's 16 teams that make it. The money is usually on the field as opposed to the one team that wins the President's Trophy. But this team is special. This team has something different to it. And I said it on the podcast before. I said it on Twitter last night. To doubt these Bruins is to doubt the leadership of Patrice Bergeron, to doubt Brad Marchand, Nick Foligno, these guys who have the wherewithal to not allow this team to squander this opportunity. We saw it back in the Winter Classic. You saw how Nick Foligno took that so seriously. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, etc. They came out, dominated the third period. These Bruins rightfully should be Stanley Cup favorites. They're far and away the best team in the NHL this season. They have an .807 point percentage. Second place Carolina is at .696. Boston's goal differential, plus 118. New Jersey's second, tied with the Rangers at plus 52. They're like lapping the field here in terms of goal differential. There's no guarantees. There is so much that has to go right in order to win the Stanley Cup. You have to stay healthy. You need the right matchups. You can get one team that just has your number. They just know how to play you correctly. So a lot has to go right for the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup this season. The fact that they won the President's Trophy does not mean they're automatically going to lose. I'd have no regard for that curse, but it's also no guarantee that they're going to win either. And I believe this team recognizes that. I believe, and we'll get into this here in a moment, talking about last night's game, the game before that against Nashville. There's a bit of a lull going on, but I have every confidence in this leadership group that they will help turn things on when the games matter most. Let's talk about this game against Columbus here in a moment. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, the FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On and America's #1 sportsbook. The NCAA tournament wraps up this weekend. Major League Baseball is back. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from money lines to point spreads, which team will cut down the net on Monday night. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at that no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up and make every moment more with FanDuel. Last night, the Boston Bruins hosted the last place Columbus Blue Jackets and emerged victorious thanks to David Pastrnak taking a feed from Hampus Lindholm in the neutral zone, sailing in, dropping a nifty backhander around Michael Hutchison for his 53rd goal of the season, securing the 2-1 victory and locking up history, as we talked about earlier in the program. Head coach Jim Montgomery said, quote, "To have won the President's Trophy Be proud of what we have achieved, he told the players. He continued, I guess it exemplifies how good a team we've been. That's a feather in everyone's hat throughout the organization, including scouts, pro scouts, the job they've done, amateur scouts throughout the years, obviously upper management. When you look at the players, he continued, what they've done, it's the players that get us there, and it's a bunch of work that's gone in throughout the organization to get the right players in the locker room. It's been a magical season so far. We know the hardest part is ahead of us, and we're looking forward to that grind. End quote. And of course, the Bruins have their eyes set on a much larger prize. Of course, we're proud, Patrice Bergeron said. A lot of games, a lot of hard work. He said, I'm proud of the way we've done it by sticking to our process, growing as a team, and learning, really playing for each other. That being said, it's nice, but obviously you have your eyes set on something bigger. We know there's a lot of work in front of us. End quote. Now, the Bruins were coming off a lackluster loss to Nashville on Tuesday. They were struggling to find their game in the early going against the last place Blue Jackets. Jakob Lauko came up big and inspired the team. He is earning a spot on the playoff roster, in my opinion. He dropped the gloves with Massachusetts native, fantastic hockey name, Billy Sweezy. And moments later, the Bruins tied the game on Tyler Bertuzzi's power play marker to make it 1-1. Lauko, had been killing penalties prior to that as well. So huge swing there. Kill off a penalty, drop the gloves. The Bruins gain some juice, and Bertuzzi ties it up. Lauko brought some energy and trying to hit people, drop the gloves when necessary. He's doing everything he needs to show that he belongs in the lineup. Now, that will change when some guys return to health, your Taylor Halls, your Nick Folignos. But I really like what I've seen from Lauko, showing that he can be counted on in key moments. He even acknowledged that. He said when Halsey and Fliggy coming back, it's going to be hard to crack the lineup. But, quote, these games I'm taking to show everyone that if something happens or if coach is going to make a different decision, I'm ready. They can rely on me. I can be a player for playoffs. I can be a Boston Bruin for the playoffs, end quote. Love to see that. And he is my big bear of the night. There were some other fights in this one. Trent Frederick dropping Lane Peterson after he bloodied Patrice Bergeron, the captain, second time in recent games where we've seen the captain get, I don't want to say brutalized, but hit, bloodied. Guys come to his defense. You love to see it. There was some confusion as to why it wasn't a major, but it was deemed that Bergeron's stick caused most of the damage in kind of the follow-through on that. Pasternak's overtime winner was his 99th point of the season, leaving him one shy of his first 100-point campaign, and the third by the Bruin since 2002-2003. Joe Thornton did it that year. Brad Marchand did it a couple years ago, and Pastrnak has the opportunity to eclipse both of those guys. Now, the man advantage power play, it did go 1 for 5, 20% success rate. They were kind of struggling a little bit, but Bertuzzi finding the back of the net. I thought overall it looked a bit better than it had in recent days. There was some good puck movement there. And Bertuzzi showing that he belongs on one of these units. Getting himself in the right position to succeed. Now, the Bruins, I think they were playing I don't even know how many games they've played recently, but you can see some fatigue getting in there. You can see Brad Marchand talked about it the other day, how this is a ridiculously tough schedule as of late. And you can see that fatigue coming in these games against Nashville, against Columbus. But it was nice to see some guys step up and go that extra mile. Brandon Carlo dropping the gloves. I didn't love seeing that. A guy with his history, after receiving a questionable hit, getting up, dropping the gloves. But it was nice to see that response, even amidst this really tough stretch in the schedule. They have a couple games coming up this weekend, and then they'll have 3 days off to kind of regroup for the final 5 regular season games, in which, like I said, we'll likely see some guys rotating in and out of the lineup. Big picture, not the greatest game to watch last night, but they got the job done. They set the new club record for wins. They clinched the President's Trophy. The all-time wins record still on the table, but as they've said, they have bigger goals in mind, and I don't think they're going to really force anything here in the final games in order to reach that mark. They've proven to be the best team this regular season, and they know there's a bigger goal in mind in the postseason, and that's really what matters most here to this club. Again, there's no guarantees. Even with the top seed, you can have home ice advantage in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and as we know all too well, still not see the team take it home. So don't think that experience for the guys who are here that were on that 2019 team, don't think that that's not going to give them extra motivation to get it done this season. Let's look towards the weekend ahead here in a moment. But first, I want to thank you again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day every single day. Free and available on YouTube and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. So please do smash that subscribe button so that you don't miss a thing down the stretch and into the postseason. The Boston Bruins have a pair of road games on the schedule this weekend. They will travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins in a possible, perhaps likely, first round preview. The Pittsburgh Penguins holding down the second wildcard spot at the moment. They're 1 point up on the Florida Panthers. They also have one game in hand. So they kind of control their own destiny at the moment. They have the advantage over the Panthers. They have an extra game to play. They're 4-6-0 over their last 10. And, if they want to make the playoffs, they're going to have to beat Boston on Saturday. They might get a quick, or they might get some help from the Bruins if it's kind of a depleted lineup per se, but that's a game that they're going to have to take if they want to play the Bruins again in the first round, playing for ideally the right to lose against the Bruins in the first round. On Sunday, the Bruins will travel to St. Louis. Blues well out of the playoff picture, 35-34-6, a minus 29 goal differential. That's a game the Bruins should take, although again, no guarantees. We'll see what the lineup looks like, but it would be great, kind of symbolically, just to go into St. Louis and decimate the Blues. Following that, thankfully, they have 3 days off before they begin the final stretch of the regular season. 5 games, 3 of which will be played at home, all every other day. They'll host the Toronto Maple Leafs, then the New Jersey Devils, both of whom have clinched already, so they could be in rest mode as well. And then they ended off with 3 games against inferior opponents in Philadelphia, Washington, and the Montreal Canadiens, finishing the season in Montreal. So again, expect some load management down the stretch. Expect the Bruins not to kind of go full bore on the floor, because at this point it's not worth risking injury. It's not worth risking overexpending yourself when there's a bigger prize on the line. I want to end with Jim Montgomery talking about President's Trophy curse, not believing in it. He said, President's Trophy teams have also won the most percentage of Stanley Cups. So he's looking at it that way. He said he'd rather be President's Cup, he called it, than second, third, fourth, or fifth, because they haven't won the Cup as much. Historically, he's right. The President's Trophy curse is a more recent phenomenon. Historically, the team with the best record has been more likely to win the Cup than teams that finished second, third, fourth, fifth. President's Trophy was first awarded in 1986. And in the first 22 years that it was handed out, the winner went on to win the Cup 7 times. So that's about a 33% success rate. In that stretch that I mentioned earlier, 9-year stretch from 99 to 2008, President's Trophy won the Cup 4 times. And then prior to the invention of the President's Trophy, having the best record in the regular season usually had a stronger correlation to winning the Cup. That was when, original 6 and all that. Scott McLaughlin of WEEI broke down some numbers from 94 to 2013, where the NHL used the 1 through 8 format. 1 seeds won 7 of 19 Stanley Cups. 2 seeds won 5, 3 seeds won 3, and 4 seeds won 2. 5 through 8 seeds, each winning 1. So, top seed had the best shot of winning the Stanley Cup. The divisional format hasn't been as friendly to President's Trophy winners, but again, it's important to have a home ice advantage, and these Bruins are far and away the best team in the NHL. So I really do think we have every reason to believe in this club, especially with the leadership group they have in tow. All right, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the ongoing support. Please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we will talk to you again here on Monday, recapping the weekend's action and bringing you all the latest on the black and gold here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.